Teacher wears the same dress for 3 months. Students start asking questions. But before we start, please make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and smash that like button. We really appreciate your continuous support. Everyone was starting to notice it, not only her students. Whenever she walked through the hallways and during classes, she would hear whispers. Everyone would stare at her wherever she goes. "Is she still wearing that dress?" said the girls. One of these days, she would have to explain why she did it. She expected it, but she did not expect to intrigue people from the other side of the globe as well. When she finally explained, everyone was shocked. What could be the reason? It's only right to show up at school wearing appropriate clothes, especially if you're a teacher. Some schools require a uniform for teachers, but others do not. If the case is latter, then the teachers would have to plan to prepare their outfits daily. Julia had been teaching for many years and is known to wear nice clothes with matching accessories. As an art teacher, she definitely loves colorful outfits. Julia Mooney, 34 years old, was hired at William Allen Middle School in New Jersey. She was hired as an art teacher. That's why she carefully planned a dress for the occasion. However, this particular dress would soon spark controversy and debate, and unexpectedly stir up the online world. What could be wrong with the outfit? When she bought the dress, Julia had no idea just how much she would shock everyone. With her new job and a new dress, she could not contain her excitement. Her first day jitters were worse than usual. She expected all eyes to be on her because she was the new teacher and the new colleague. She never expected everyone to talk about her dress. Oh, they sure gossiped about it. When Julia finally spoke up, she couldn't do anything but accept her fate. When Julia saw the dress online, she instantly knew that she needed to buy it. However, no one would think that she would wear this on her first day at school. Soon, the new art teacher would attract a lot of attention if she did not explain herself. Or worst case scenario, she might even get fired. Although she became the teacher who garnered attention, Julia Mooney was not just a middle school art teacher. She is also a mom of 2. She is living in New Jersey and teaching at William Allen Middle School in Morristown. However, her life choices are somewhat unusual. Julia loves spending time with her family. Usually she teaches them about animals by taking them to farms. She also loves to knit clothes. On one of their family trips, she went to an alpaca farm and the farmer gave her some wool. She also loves to demonstrate gardening and teach her kids other life skills they might find helpful in the future. However, this isn't the case at the school. It all started. Mooney knew everyone at the school would show her mixed reactions. Some would be bad or good, and some would even be odd, but she decided that she would not get too affected by what they say. Mooney said, "I don't really usually think of myself as somebody who really cares that much about what other people think." However, things were about to be different. She was on her way to having her 2 toddlers ready for school. Her new dress was ideal for her, and she was overjoyed that it only cost her $50. She was hoping to find something at Target, even though this wasn't the most attractive dress she might find. Her first day of practice, on the other hand, was almost a nightmare. Julia, too, was optimistic. All seemed to be going swimmingly after she tentatively introduced herself to her 6th and 7th grade students. That is, until temperature outside starts to increase. Julia positioned herself carefully under the air conditioner, but she didn't feel any cooler. "Oh no, I'm sweating," she thought as her face flushed. What a horror! She managed to stay on track even though humiliated by fanning herself with a book. But all she could worry about was the sweltering summer heat, which had crept past 90 degrees. Hours passed and the day seemed to go on forever. Although the students were ecstatic to see the new art teacher, Julia thought she wasn't making a decent first impression on that particular day. The lesson seemed infinite after a long series of introductions. Any 13-year-old who came in to see her had a fresh chance to create an impact, and she felt like she was squandering it. The day had eventually come to an end, and she returned to her vehicle, relieved. She was mortified to discover that her dress was clinging to her back like a wet cheesecloth. As she scrubbed it in the sink and hung it to dry, she reminded herself that tomorrow was a new day. That was just the start. Any of the students noticed Mrs. Mooney was not like their other teachers when she appeared at school the next day. Any of her students noticed that the art instructor was dressed the same as the day before. Another day passed, and it was obvious that people were beginning to discuss it. Even if people weren't intentionally welcoming, everybody quickly realized what was going on. Was the art teacher suffering from some kind of illness? Nobody could figure out why the new teacher didn't alter her wardrobe. One of the students realized she had adjusted her boots and attached a jacket. At the age of 13, girls are more conscious about their looks and the clothes they carry, lusting for fashion items and designer brands. So it's no surprise that some of the girls picked up on Mrs. Mooney right away. You'll be shocked to learn why Julia wore the same dress over and over again. She wore the dress not only to college, but even on weekends and any time she visited town. Julia realized it was only a matter of time before anyone said it, even though no one had questioned her why she had made the choice. When people took the courage to express their concerns regarding Julia's unchanging attire, Julia realized she'd have to address any questions. Will she get into problems at her current job? Julia was soon the subject of a William Allen Middle School discussion. People couldn't take their eyes away from her gray shirt, which she wore every day of the week. The rumors started flying. Any of the teachers were worried about the situation. Has Mrs. Mooney had to deal with some difficulties? Students started to wonder as well. However, as everyone who has been through high school understands, teens can be brutal. Julia tried to lecture whilst avoiding the elephant in the building. Snickers and whispering in the corridors and on the playground are familiar to her. And her coworkers have started to regard her differently, treating her as if she were fragile, but refusing to confront her about her wardrobe. Yet she realizes she had no choice but to persevere. She was prepared to finish the race, but she did the only thing she understood how to do. She sat back. As you can guess, Julia's buzz was too weird to be a teacher, and how her behavior was impacting the kids. The principal had approached several of the parents and suggested a meeting. Was Julia going to lose her job when she wore the same outfit every day? She didn't, though, violate any laws. Is the current instructor having financial difficulties? No matter how bad you are, you can't really own only one shirt. Julia even showed up in various accessories and scarves from time to time. She had several sweaters and other pieces for her art classes, including aprons. So what precisely was the backstory of the gray dress? They were both intrigued, although it couldn't last any longer. That's what they felt. Her incessant changes in clothes drove certain people insane. Others said it was incompatible with Julia's way of existence. Most people thought it was dull for an art instructor to wear the same gray dress every day. Julia, on the other hand, had many excuses to wear this dress. When the mystery is answered, parents are shocked to discover the facts about their children's teachers. People couldn't hold their enthusiasm any longer by the end of Julia's third week. She could see the dissatisfaction in everyone's hearts, and she realized it was past time to deal with it. So, what was the backstory behind the gray gown? Why does Julia refuse to remove it? Everyone was eager to hear what she had to say at this stage. Julia, you know, has a clever plan up her sleeve. It was all meticulously planned, and she had selected the plain gray dress for a reason. They're like, is she really wearing that dress? I say as I move down the halls, Julia remarked. Regardless, she couldn't help but grin as more and more people took note. I wanted to choose a dress that was going to be versatile because I'm going to be wearing it during the winter because it was 90 degrees before we began the school year, the instructor said. She directed her students to her Instagram page when they eventually summoned the nerve to question why she had been wearing the same dress for weeks. Many of the answers were in her Instagram feed. For at least 100 days, I'll be wearing this shirt via Ceramics Designs, Blizzards Everywhere, she wrote on her Instagram page in a post titled One Outfit 100 Days. Isn't it tedious? And of course, as well as the next American, I enjoy expressing myself through my clothing. This is a difficult task. Even, why does anybody want to do something so tedious? She has 4 excellent explanations. The first reason for Julia's discussion to wear the same dress for 100 days is a straightforward one. It helps save you time. A minimalistic lifestyle makes sense for her when she is responsible for 2 toddlers. She has more free time with her loved ones after saying goodbye to the agonizing issue of what to wear. Her explanations, though, do not end there. She has a far more important message for all users. Julia is an active slow fashion supporter. What is, then, quick fashion? Fast fashion is literally cheap, fashionable fabric and cost-effective clothing, but unfortunately it does not last long. An example is Forever 21. Julia explained, "We demand lots of clothes cheap, so retailers have to produce it in foreign factories, where US labor laws don't protect workers." Slow fashion is just the opposite, promoting good quality and fair labor prices. Since vast amounts of garments are made overseas to satisfy the increasing demand for affordable goods, many businesses unethically employ underage employees in their factories. Worst still, there are no laws in place to safeguard these youngsters. Julia contributes to the reduction of the demand for lower-paying jobs by purchasing fewer clothes. The biggest explanation is Julia's judgment. But it is not the only one. Julia wants to be a conscientious shopper and is therefore concerned about the fashion industry's environmental impact. With global apparel demand at an all-time peak, it's no surprise that wasteful environmental practices are depleting the planet's precious resources. Julia opted for a fair trade hemp dress from Thinking, a London-based fabric brand, to reduce her carbon footprint. So, how has Julia's project been received? Disgust has been the most frequent response she has had. Some people simply feel that wearing the same piece of clothes every day is unsanitary. Her response provides fuel for thinking. Julia responded by saying, "I just tell them, this isn't a hygiene initiative. It gets washed as desired. I arrive in work in good shape. Uniforms are used by a large number of individuals, although they are not considered to be filthy." Another thought-provoking takeaway from Julia's 100-day experiment in one outfit. Do we still need that many different outfits? Says the narrator. Is it just something we're perpetuating as a society that describes us through what we wear rather than what we do? Why don't we focus our efforts on being nice, interesting people rather than striving to look good and interesting? People worldwide were taken aback by the teacher's note, even though they agreed with her point. Julia's Instagram soon exploded with comments, and she now has over 6,500 fans. All about translating environmental solutions into daily things. What a revolution this instructor started, wrote one supporter. Julia's classmates and colleagues quickly followed her lead, with 17 teachers supporting her campaign, including her husband Patrick, a history instructor, who wore the same shirt for 100 days as well. Local news stations quickly picked up on the teacher's account. Some individuals would refuse to respond and therefore choose to reach their own rationalized assumptions. Respect the fact that we are all on very different paths of life. As long as you remain friends, you'll be fine. She went on to say that she now recognizes hemp as the ultimate rock star fabric and that all dresses need tight pockets. The question I'm posing is this. Let's consider before we purchase, carry, toss, and buy again, Julia said, challenging everybody. Is it possible to purchase secondhand clothing? If you know how to shop responsibly, what if you bought less? Do you want to learn to sew a few things? Is it essential to buy too many different outfits? Is it just because we're perpetuating a society that describes us through what we carry rather than what we do? After this is done, I'll change more often, but it won't overwhelm me as it once did, Julia writes on her Instagram account. I'll go shopping, but I'll do it with caution. I'll eat fewer, just not as much as this. We shouldn't allow the fact that we couldn't achieve anything to deter us from achieving what we can. Julia's challenge ended in February of 2019, and in the last 3 days, she shared a snapshot of fellow teachers and school workers she is working with wearing the same clothing as her as a gesture of solidarity. Turns out I work with fairly awesome staff, the caption read. Here's a picture of 17 teachers from my building who have chosen to promote this initiative by wearing the same outfit over the past 3 days. On day 100, such a great way to finish one outfit 100 days. She marked the conclusion of her task by repurposing portions of the dress and explaining what she'd learned from the project. Constantly push yourself to answer with equal parts grace and strong facts in the face of critique, petty or otherwise. The instructor said, never take a protective stance. Who mends clothing anymore, she continued. It doesn't seem worth our time with garments that are too inexpensive and almost disposable, too much so that it is still considered a dead art. If we should rethink this, perhaps it is worthwhile to repair our clothes so they can continue to support us. Maybe if we invested more money on long-lasting, ethically made clothing, we would love them more and feel more likely to repair it. It seems to be a safer alternative to landfills. I like to wear clothes. I like to show myself, Julia said in an interview. I know we're just staring for what the other individual is wearing, she said. We have this profoundly rooted societal obligation to adjust every day because wearing the same thing every day is uncomfortable. It's strange, but since it's strange, it makes us all think. What are your thoughts on Julia's cause? Can you accept the task of wearing the same outfit for 100 days? Elizabeth Mccarthy took up on the challenge as well, albeit in a very different way. She starred in a lengthy video interview instead of wearing the same dress for 100 days. She discussed how she achieved so and how anyone might do the same if they so choose. Elizabeth, like Julia, had to be more conscious of what she wears and how much she wears it. It was more for becoming more environmentally friendly. Rather than purchasing fresh clothes, she decided to make the best of a particular item she already had in her closet, a coat. She set a goal for herself to wear this dress for 100 consecutive days. She carefully considered which dress to wear when she first began the competition. It had to be adaptable, sufficient to be useful in this experiment. The dress's fabric was critical to the challenge's performance. How did she pull it off? To begin, Elizabeth chose a basic tank dress from the Woolen brand. This dress could be worn in various styles, such as a V-neck with a tie and as a crew neck and more. Since the fabric dried easily, she could wash it and put it on the next morning. It's made of 49% ultra-soft merino fiber, 33% Tencel TM lyocell, and 18% nylon. It's a decent pick for every season because of its inclusive mix. This dress would look fantastic in the summer and can comfortably be layered with other dresses in the winter. Of course, the greatest thing is that it's very robust. The dress was always as beautiful as fresh after Elizabeth wore it for the rest of the challenge. The idea began when the corporation Wool & Co. launched a campaign where they asked people to wear the same dress for 100 days in a row. All you had to do was say yes to participate in the contest. The brand will then give the first 50 volunteers a coat. Surprisingly, the challenge went off without a hitch. Elizabeth was one of the brave souls who took part in this epic challenge. The challenge's prime aim was to inspire these women to eat fewer and be satisfied with what they already had. Consumption, as Julia previously said, is a major issue today. All enjoy introducing fresh things into their shopping lists and discovering new outfits. It's the way things are nowadays. However, we've discovered what the lifestyle costs. Understandably, the cost of living in a consumerist culture is extreme. Something had to be said about it. Like Elizabeth, Julia, and several others knew, stuff must adjust for things to improve, or, to put it another way, to begin changing. What should be accomplished to bring in improvement is a big issue. The first step is to come up with a new way of doing stuff. That was the point of this contest. These women needed to make a case to the rest of the world. Elizabeth loved wearing her dress as the challenge proceeded. Aside from that, she spent most of her time flying. She'd been wearing the same outfit in a variety of situations and settings. Hiking, cycling, and exploring cities are all options. Many of them had the same outfit. She discovered one thing as a result of the challenge. I certainly learned I don't need as many items as I have or even sound like I do, she said. Elizabeth seems to be unconcerned with wearing the same outfit every day. In truth, just the opposite is true. She was ecstatic. I had a lot of choices for cold weather, but summer makes me so content. It's incredibly comfortable. If you don't want to start a challenge like this and wear the same dress for 100 days, you may be looking for ways to simplify your wardrobe. This hat, according to Elizabeth, was ideal for the occasion. If you're looking for a way to simplify your closet, the Wool & Avery tank dress offers both flexibility and longevity during the seasons. It's an era where recycling and pollution are hot topics. Being able to bring more uses and use out of things you buy is critical. On her personal profile, Elizabeth elaborated, in addition to getting a free dress for taking part in the competition, if you wear a Wool & Avery dress for 100 days in a row, you can get an $100 voucher to use on your next Wool & Avery dress. If you're something like us, you're still curious if you can wash the dress. Isn't it true that if you wear the same dress for 100 days in a row, you have to wash it every day? You don't have to, as it points out. Elizabeth's gown is odor-resistant because it's mainly constructed of natural wood. To address the query, the amount of washing depends on the wishes and desires of the wearer. Here are a few perfect excuses to buy a dress like Elizabeth's if you don't already have one. Wool, as previously said, needs less washing. This would save you a significant amount of time and resources in the long term. If you invest in a decent, simple outfit, you'll be able to wear it in various ways. Even wearing it for 100 days isn't your favorite. You can always make the most of it by wearing it in a variety of ways. This would save you money in the long run by preventing you from having to purchase several garments. Not to mention, you'll discover that you really don't need additional supplies.